Okay, this is a little review of reference angle basics. So let's go back through the idea of reference angles. So if you have a reference angle, let's say it's 40 degrees. Okay, in quadrant 1, a reference angle is the angle. Okay, so that's 40 degrees. So in quadrant 1, it's always the same thing. In quadrant 2, we want our reference angle is this. It's the same. See how it's the same triangle? Okay, the reference angle makes the same triangle, but the angle that we want is this one. Okay, so 40 is this, but the angle that we want overall is the red one, this one. So in quadrant 2, the angle that corresponds is going to be 180 minus 40. Okay, see the red right there? We're going to take away the 40. 180 minus 40 would be 140. Okay, if we want to do the same thing in quadrant 3, okay, so this is the same triangle, all right, there's our reference angle is the angle that the triangle makes. So this time we want the blue angle. Okay, so the blue angle is going to be 180 plus 40. Sorry, that should say quadrant 3. Okay, we're in quadrant 3. We want our theta to be 180 plus 40. And that's going to give us 220. And we see that lands us in quadrant 3. Okay, and then the last quadrant is quadrant 4. Same triangle, 40 degrees right there. But this time we want the green angle is our angle in quadrant 4. So in quadrant 4, theta is going to be 360 minus 40. And that's going to be 320. Okay, so that's just an example. Here's your reference angle. Your reference angle is the triangle, and then you've got to put that triangle in quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. So quadrant 1, it always matches if it's positive, and then quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Let's try another one. Okay, so let's do, let's say theta is, let's do a negative one this time. Let's say theta is negative 25. Okay, so that's our reference angle, like from getting an inverse sine or an inverse tangent. Okay, so negative 25 is going to make a triangle in quadrant 4. Okay, so the triangle angle that we're actually looking at is 25. So if we wanted to put that in quadrant 1, which we normally wouldn't do because if it's negative, we want it in the negative quadrants and everything's positive in quadrant 1. But for argument's sake, let's say that we wanted to put that in quadrant 1, it would just be 25 degrees. Okay, so same triangle in quadrant 1 is 25 degrees. All right, in quadrant 2, 25 degrees like that is going to be, okay, this is the theta that I want in quadrant 2, so I'm going to do 180 minus 25. And that's going to give me 155. Okay, and then quadrant 3, that's 25. Sorry about the planes flying overhead. I keep pausing, but it's taking forever. So quadrant 3 is this angle. So we're going to do 180 plus 25 for quadrant 3. And that's going to give us 205. Okay, and you should see that these angles, like this is quadrant 1, this has got to be in quadrant 2, this has got to be in quadrant 3. And then the last one would be in quadrant 4. So depending on what you want, you could just keep the negative 25 in quadrant 4, but sometimes they want a positive angle. So you'd have to go all the way around like this. If you want the positive one, you'd be doing the coterminal. So that would be 360 plus 25 or 360 minus 25, however you want to look at that. And that's going to be 335. Okay, so quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay, so now a lot of times when we're doing these, the number, this angle is coming off of something. So let's look at, whoops, there we go. All right, so now let's look at an example. So let's say that we've got a triangle, okay, and we've got, let's see, let's do this triangle. All right, and let's say this is 3, -4, and we find the hypotenuse is 5. Okay, so we've set up our triangle. We're in quadrant 2, and let's say that we are looking at sine theta. So sine theta, this is our theta here in the triangle, is opposite over hypotenuse. Okay, so this is not a unit circle value, so we're going to have to do inverse sine, like that. And that is going to give us 36.9. Because remember, inverse sine is only going to return fourth quadrant or first quadrant. It's going to give you a negative angle. If it's negative, it's going to give you first quadrant if it's positive. Okay, so this angle right here is the 36.9. But what we want is this one. We want the second quadrant angle. So the angle that we actually want is 180 minus 36.9. And that's going to give us 143.1. Okay, so that's the difference between the angle that sine inverse returns is this one, okay, which is the same as this one. You've got to put it into the right quadrant. Okay, let's try another one. Let's say that we've got let's say that we've got -6, -4. These are like the ones that we're doing right now. Okay, so we've got tangent of theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be -4 over -6. So we're going to do theta is tangent inverse. You can make it +4, +6 if you want. And when we do that, we're going to get that our theta is 33.6. Okay. All right, but this is a first quadrant value. Because this was positive, tangent's only going to return first or fourth quadrant. So what it's actually giving you, it's giving you this triangle right here. But we don't want this triangle, we want this triangle over here. So we've got to put that into the third quadrant. So we've got to put that into the third quadrant like this. So that's going to be 180 plus 33.6. The angle that we want is 180 plus 33.6. And that's going to give us 213.6, I think. Okay, let's do one more with tangent. Okay, so let's say that we've got this triangle, we've got 8, -3. And we know that tangent theta is -3 over 8. So when we do inverse tangent, okay, this time when we do inverse tangent, it's going to return -20.6. All right, so that does put us in the right quadrant. That does put us in quadrant 4. Sometimes, even though that's quadrant 4, sometimes they ask us for theta to be positive. So in that case, you either use this as your reference angle or you think of it as finding coterminal, because coterminal lands you back in the same quadrant as well. So you would either do this plus 360 if you're thinking of it in terms of coterminal. So -20.6 plus 360, that's what we would think of in terms of coterminal. Or you would do 360 minus 20.6 if you think of this in terms of the reference angle. If you look, it's the same thing. Okay, so when we do that, boy, we get 339.4, I think. Okay, they come out to be the same thing. So when it's in the fourth quadrant, whether you want to think of this as being the negative angle and finding coterminal, or whether you want to think of this as being your reference angle and taking it away from 360, it comes out the same thing. Okay, so hopefully that helps you guys a little bit with the reference angles. If you need any more examples, I'm happy to do it.